Hi, this is George Vega, and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast.
Hello everybody, my name is Ian Taylor and welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast, brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective, an awesome community of card collectors and creators. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details of which are at the end of this podcast, so come check us out. With me as always is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards. Give me an N.
N.
Give me an O.
A. O. Sorry.
And that stands for, oh my God, I ain't doing any more of these, especially when it's, oh my God, it's early for at least 50% of the hosts, plus most of our guests too. It's Norrin Rad.
That would have been a lot to spell out if you kept going, by the way.
No, you need a shorter name.
I need a shorter name.
You do.
Let's just go with N. Agent N. I love it.
Agent N is now back to 6 characters. We're trying to get down from 6 characters.
Oh, yeah.
So that
Mr. N.
Anyway, yeah. Mr. N. Mr. N. Mr. N, that's good. That's 3 letters.
Well, including the dot. Now we're at 4 again. We'll work on it. We'll get there.
All right. Okay. Anyway, hello. Norrin, we've done over 100 episodes. We're now in triple digits.
This is insane. Triple digits.
Digits. Triple
I feel like
digits.
such a baller.
Have you ever committed to anything for quite so long in your entire life?
My wife and I have been together for almost 10 years, so no, not yet. Breathing. I've been breathing for 35 years, so that's a commitment.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, right. Pretty good.
I won't lie to you, Norrin. I'm very low energy. I'm very tired today, as we mentioned before.
But you look gorgeous, darling.
Thank you. I'm lagging a little bit. Can we just talk about First of all, I'm because I want to bring our guest in on this conversation. So
yes.
You know what? I'm just going to ask our guest to introduce himself. Who are you?
I'm George Vega, and I forgot that I'm actually on the show. I'm so busy enjoying you guys. I'm watching, and I just realized that I'm on with you guys. Yeah. I'm George Vega. And
you are George Vega. And I always want to say your first and your surname all together. For me, it's kind of all one, because I think it's a really, really cool name.
I love it.
I love surname. What's your kind of because you're in New Jersey, yeah?
Yes.
But what's your kind of background? Are you, because you did an intro for us in Spanish, I believe.
Yes, actually. I did a Spanish and English one, and I think I sent the Spanish one first.
Yeah.
So I'm half Puerto Rican, half Ecuadorian.
Whoa.
Raised in New Jersey, so I'm definitely 100% New Jerseyan.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, I'm Cuban, and my best friend growing up is Ecuadorian. And growing up in Miami, Miami's like everybody's there, but it must be different being in Jersey and being different nationality and stuff like that.
You know what? Actually, where I grew up at, I'm from Brick City, known as Brick City, but it's Newark, New Jersey, and there is a large Hispanic community there. Mostly when I was growing up, Puerto Rican. So it was predominantly Puerto Rican, and there was some Ecuadorian. Now it's actually changed. It's way more. Actually, and Cuban. Actually, it was Cuban, Puerto Rican, sprinkled in with Ecuadorian and Dominican, and so right now it's very much most likely even mixes of everything from the Caribbean all the way to throughout South America.
That's amazing. It's more and more Miami, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Sounds like the United Nations over there. Crikey.
Oh yeah, I love it. That's awesome, man. Oh gosh.
I was in New York once, and I found myself. I've been to New York quite a few times, but I was in New York, and I found myself in the middle of like loads of people. I mean, everywhere. And I actually got a bit panicked because all of a sudden I'd walked a couple of blocks and I couldn't get out of this big load of people, and they're all, very scantily dressed ladies and things like that. And I walked into the I walked into the Puerto Rico Day Parade that they do in Manhattan. I kind of stumbled into it and I couldn't get out of it. And I was like, so I kind of went along with it for about 40 minutes and then kind of just bailed. And kind of, it was the most bizarre experience. And I was in New York on my own as well. So I wasn't even with anyone. I'd gone to New York.
Dude, and
you were like a Ferris Bueller, man, parading it down and up and down.
No, it's not about that. I was just kind of, I wasn't on floats or anything like that with a headdress.
I'll explain it to you guys, just so you guys know how much of a big deal the Puerto Rican Day Parade is on the East Coast. It's huge. So for him to stumble into it is, first of all, that's a pretty cool experience. Yeah. I've never even been to the Puerto Rican Day Parade in New York, only because the crowds are so. It's just, for me, it's too much. I'm not. Although I like crowds, but at a certain point, especially when after you have kids and stuff, crowds just aren't so cool anymore.
Oh yeah. No, it actually did scare me. I wasn't into it at all, and it took me 40 minutes to escape. I think is probably the best way to phrase it. But there were. It reminds me of going to the Notting Hill Carnival in London, which I did once, and that was so busy with the number of people, and the streets are much narrower and not as broad as the avenues in New York, and you kind of get swept along. Literally, you can't move. You can't move left. You can't move right. You just get swept along. It's kind of tidal, and that's quite a daunting experience if you're not into it. Knowing you'd hate it, because I know you're not big on.
Yeah, I'm not. I think. Oh gosh. So we have one on 8th Street on Calle Ocho in Miami, where we have like a parade and stuff like that. But the one I've gotten kind of like swept into, not similar to yours, that's 40 minutes is insane. I can only imagine the terror. I guess it sounds fun, but like, all the loud noises and all that
I'll tell you where I escaped to in a moment, but carry on.
I think the only time I ever ended up like in that kind of wave situation where people are just coming and you're just like going with them, you know what I mean? Where you're kind of trapped or whatever, was the Halloween celebration in Key West, which was really cool. Like everyone's like dressed in like outfits, horror, those like parades going on. But that's the only time I've ever experienced that.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You're caught in a tide of people and they're all wearing really weird masks.
Really? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I was stuck. Okay, so this is kind of funny, but very quickly. We were driving there, me and a couple of friends, and we got stuck behind a guy who was fully naked riding a bicycle. Now, take a moment and picture a naked gentleman on a bicycle and seeing that from behind. That is the weirdest, most bizarre image. One of the strangest images I've ever seen. And we were there for like 25 minutes, so we really soaked it in. It wasn't like it just happened. It was a long, long stare of this gentleman's life from head to toe. But it was strange.
I've seen something akin to that because I've been to some of the and been working near and in Soho in London when some of the Pride events happen.
Mm.
Oh, nice.
And oh boy, yeah, that goes somewhere else altogether. But yeah, no. So I escaped from this. We might even talk about Marvel cards at some point. But,
eventually, guys.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. What do we do? Planet Hollywood saved my bacon.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I was like, I just saw it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going in. And I went in, and if I remember correctly, I think it was big enough that it had a door on one block and a door on the other, or it was a corner thing. So I went in, and I was in there, and I was like, right, okay, I can escape that way because there's no parade that way because it's on a street rather than an avenue. And I just sat down. I had a burger. I had to have a burger to recover. Might have even had a beer with it.
Watching the parade running around. That's awesome.
And there were kind of ladies coming into Planet Hollywood who were wearing things that were kind of so short they were up to their ears. Does that make sense?
Sounds right.
Almost like your bicycle experience. Female.
See, you're saying so sure. I'm like, that's usually Miami.
Yeah, and same thing. You know, it's the Latin culture. You know, it gets hot at our different countries, and it's kind of like bikini weather's like normal. So
yeah, I ain't used to that. I'm white bread from Devon in England. You know, it doesn't none of that stuff goes on down there. And if anyone does try to wear it, they usually get rolled back into the sea. Anyway,
The mermaids.
No, really. So what was I going to say? So yeah, I'm a bit tired. I went to the cinema yesterday. I'm going to have a little moan now.
Oh boy.
Yesterday was because we're just kind of starting to open up over here, just about after the third lockdown, and we're able to go to the cinema again. We've been able to go to the cinema for about a month now. So I took my daughter, who's 5, to the cinema. I was like, my wife's working. We're going to have a day out. We'll go to the cinema. Great, lovely. We went to see Peter Rabbit 2, which is brilliant, by the way. Highly recommended. The tickets were £4.99 each. Okay, so £5, which is probably about $7. So okay, morning showing with a girl. The popcorn, I asked for a small popcorn. Okay, it was more expensive than one of the tickets. It was more expensive. Molly Rose could have taken one of her friends with her. This is the receipt. She could have taken a friend with her, and we'd still have a
receipt.
So I didn't know how much it was. I just didn't. You don't look at it because you're at the kiosk. I just put it in my pocket. She didn't tell me how much the popcorn was. I said, I'll get a small popcorn as well. Anyway, so I'm still livid. Anyway,
see, we're very much used to that because like the concession stand in the U.S., like the soda things are like the size of Vega and my head put together.
Yeah. like this.
They're like that. And it's like $20. No, it's gotten really crazy over here. Maybe it hasn't like gone nuts over there yet, but it's gone ballistic.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way: I'm used to. I was expecting it to be maybe £3-4 quid, like $5 for a small popcorn, because it wasn't a massive. She's pretty little. She had a pretty good go at it, mind you. She got quite far down. And
she's no quitter.
She isn't. She came back for seconds later on as well. Anyway, that's by the by. George.
Yes, sir.
George. So, George, tell me about now you were one of the blessed few to have their name up on the wall, and I say that in a nice way, in a rejoicing way. Of all the artist intros we had at the beginning of our 100th episode, because you were in the original 100. So that OG squad whose intros get into that 100th episode intro, you're one of those fellas. So we've been meaning to talk to you for a little while. So George, tell me about yourself and your journey with marble cards, because you told me something in the wake of the Martinic episode that got me very, very intrigued as to how he fits into your journey. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, he's definitely a major key player in my journey, and I'm sure for a lot of artists' journey, because if you know anything about his background, he was I forgot what the position was called, but I guess it would be like maybe talent development, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he was the guy at Rittenhouse Archives that was basically, he was literally, the gatekeeper, literally the gatekeeper. You would have to basically make it past him, so to speak, or him to give you the okay to pass you on, and then you would actually get the work.
Wow.
So that's how we met, because I don't even remember how I first got the email or even knew about Rittenhouse Archives. But I know it has to do with DeviantArt. I know I was on Deviant. This is how far back it goes, when DeviantArt was a thing. So that's how far back it goes. And I saw someone post about it and mentioned Rittenhouse Archives, and then that's when I started learning about sketch cards, and I've seen them around. I thought they were cool, and then I started doing research on it, and that's how I was led in that direction. But at the time, I know I had just finished a fan comic for Transformers: The Lost Seasons, which at that time it was hosted on the IDW forums. So I was asked. I did some fan art, and if anyone knows me, I do a lot of '80s fan art. I've been doing it since I first joined DeviantArt back in 2008. It was just my thing. I always it's what inspired me. That's always what I did. Fan art meaning anything 80s, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Silverhawks, all of that. Sectars, Visionaries,
Nice.
The Bionic Six, the list goes on and on.
Thundercats?
Thundercats. Oh my God.
Yes. Good.
As a matter of fact, I dedicated a whole week to Thundercats one time. So.
Oh wow.
That's amazing.
An entire week of drawings, but because of that, I did this. I was asked to do this fan comic. Now, the bonus of that fan comic was that it was hosted on the IDW forums, and IDW obviously produced Transformers. So I thought it was definitely my springboard to really getting in there, because a few people were picked up from that comic. So.
Wow.
Just to put a quick end note on that, what ended up happening was I did the work. It came out. I've shared it. I can share it again, share it with you guys. That fan comic, which it was a 6-pager. I did everything. I drew all the pages. I did all the coloring, and all the art was completed and done by me.
Wow.
So when it ends up happening is, once it's released, let's say I could have the months wrong or the dates, but it was released, let's say, in January or February. We released that comic. It got a lot of buzz. I got a lot of my social media. I noticed that people noticed, but then IDW announces that they're shutting down their forums.
Oh.
So it was like shut down, like they shut it down probably within maybe just weeks after the announcement and after the release of that. So I was hoping that it would get the eyes at IDW on the comic, and maybe I can start doing something with them. So it didn't work out. So at that point, I was kind of like, well, I heard about the sketch card thing, and let me look into that. And there are people doing stuff for Marvel. There are people or whatever. Let's get started. So that's when. So around the time, I probably found my first iteration, or my first, let's say, round, was when I found the Rittenhouse Archives website, and then there was like a brief outline, and I think I was literally that outline Warren Martinek wrote, which was about what your card should have, what are they looking for. It might have been on his blog or something like that.
Wow.
And I took quick note, and to my I know what I did. My first, let's say, my first samples is in my mind. I saw that there were sketch cards, so I did something really quick, kind of just basically dashed out. I have to say, it was some, because I thought that was the idea behind the cards, because it seemed like they're literally called sketch cards. But the reality is, as a person who's been doing it close to a decade, if not, I think I hit a decade. They're illustration cards, plain and simple. They're illustrations. They're not sketch cards. So I did my first submission, and I think Warren, with almost no time at all, reached back to me and said, I should try to do more of a finish. He has some notes that were great. Completely helpful. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I've always had like a coachable attitude. Like, if I'm trying to do something, you tell me what to do, let me do that. And if I'll do it, and I could only get better from there.
Love it.
So now here's where then let's say that whole sketch card world opened up, because at that point I found a few different companies, right? Upper Deck and Topps were considered like the most, I won't say untouchables, but there was no information to how to submit at the time. Nowadays, they're actually a lot more open with giving away the submission emails. But at that time, you had to meet someone and get that email for you to submit your samples to. So I had found Bragent Marketing. I also had found Colt Stuff, which is they're based in the UK, and who else was there? And Rittenhouse Archives. And let's see, I think. Oh, and there was Viceroy cards.
Yeah, heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're based out of Vegas. Those were like that was the landscape. So my first set was in 2012, which was for Brajan, and it was for the World of Fantasy card set. And if you guys have seen this card set, it's kind of interesting because he created a sketch card size that opens up to a full 8.5 by 11 card.
Whoa!
I don't know if you guys have seen that. I'm sure it's got to be on eBay.
I think I've got a promo something that does something similar, but yeah, I think I've got something like that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it was. I know it was one day I saw a post. Brajan is looking for artists for a new set. I looked it up. Worlds of Fantasy, anything goes, from steampunk to sci-fi to whatever. So that was literally like my first job. And it was technically not a traditional sketch card. So it's a sketch card size card, right? And you do whatever character, sci-fi character, whatever you imagined, and then it opens up to a bigger blank canvas. So you can the idea was to take that same character and do something else with it on the bigger opened card. So that was my first, delve into sketch cards, and I also provided some base card art for this Steam bot character, which was my first maybe Steam bot illustration, which ends up in today looking an iteration of my character Walter Tank from my comic book The World of M. but that's a whole nother story. So that was actually probably my first delve into it. My first actual card set that I did was Viceroy cards, because then shortly after that I saw that they were doing a space. It was space, whatever year it was. So now I might get my years off, but I know I just know the order.
You have a better memory than me, so no worries.
So I know. So my first actual sketch card set was space. It was I think it was 50 cards of just space illustrations, and they said you can do whatever you'd like. You could create the planets if you want. Just make sure it looks like outer space. And I think for me, developmental wise, was key, because at that point I got to do just outer space stuff on landscapes. Got to create my own landscapes. Really. Play with color palettes, in an unhinged kind of way, because there was no real art direction. It was more like, okay, this is what you're gonna do, and so on and so forth. So that was my full set that I ever did. That would have been for Viceroy cards. My second set would have been Cult Stuff. I saw that Cult Stuff had. Or they were asking for submissions for War of the Worlds, based on the H.G. Wells book.
Yes.
And I was super excited for it because I've always liked War of the Worlds. Never read the book, and I took the opportunity of reading the book as I signed up for it, or I basically took the contract for the cards. I got the book. I read the book, and as an artist or illustrator, that's one of the things I've always wanted to be able to do, where I can read a book and then right after that do some actual work. Years ago, when I wanted to be a fantasy novel illustrator, I always assumed that the artist had to read the whole book and come up with a cover. I assumed that as a kid, and so I had it in my mind. I always wanted to read a whole book and be able to do artwork for it. So it kind of played into that fantasy. So I was able to do that. It's a great book anyway. I highly recommend it. It's over 100 years old, I believe now.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, so that would be another one where I got to this card set. I was able to, I guess, live that fantasy of reading a full book, doing all the illustrations, and then right after that, they were going to do the American Civil War, which is pretty interesting, for I guess a British company to do a card set of the American Civil War, which it is in their wheelhouse, right? They were doing historic stuff and all kinds of classics, right? Like literary classics. That's what they were doing, and that was the next set I did right after. And that was super interesting because I'm also a history fan. I'm a fan of history. I get into different historical documentaries. Big fan of war documentaries, and then I get to jump into the Civil War as far as in a heavy way. So I signed up for it, and what did I do? And lucky for me, Netflix had the John Byrne American Civil War documentaries, and I was like, yes.
John Byrne, I love it. Yeah. That's great.
Have you ever seen or heard of an Alan Bennett play called The History Boys?
No, I'm not familiar.
No. Alan Bennett's dialogue is very witty, and in The History Boys, someone says the immortal line, "History, it's just one thing after another," which is always worth repeating. Anyway, so you did Civil War stuff. What came after that? When did you get to capes? How did you get to capes?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, yes. Sorry if I'm taking.
No, you're not. I think this is fascinating. They're just the journey through different card companies and styles.
Yeah, and let's begin that. I wanted to do capes. I wanted to do, being a comic book illustrator is my jam. It's what was my focus. But instead, I'm doing all this other stuff that's not it. But in the vein of being an illustrator and artist, it's what it's about. Yeah. Stretching your skills or taking your skills and stretching your abilities to convey other type of media, other type of stories, and I guess to open yourself up a little bit more. So how the capes come along. So at this point, let's see if I can forward it. So in between all of that, I think I did one more round of cards, and I sent it to Rittenhouse, and Warren had made one note and was like, he was like, if you were to use more blacks, this stuff would really stand out. Only because artistically at that point, since I was doing comic books and comic book like fan art, I wasn't inking as far as using the techniques of an inker. I was literally just outlining my artwork with a pen.
Gotcha. Which
is not technically inking. And since I was coloring stuff digitally, I really wasn't embracing what ink establishes on a comic book page or on a comic book style illustration. So it was 100% my journey, my thing of connecting certain things with one another. So, and I remember the drawing. It was a Juggernaut drawing I had done, and I colored it. And he was, this is very nice. And what he did is he probably put it into Photoshop and inked it like real quick to show me how it would have looked if I would have inked it. And added some spot blacks, as we call them, or like full black in certain areas. And I saw it, and then it just like my mind was like, yeah, look at the difference. Like it was literally my base drawing, and all he did was just add like a darker black to it and like filled in certain areas. And it's exactly as he said. It's going to be more enhanced if I were to use more blacks. I'm like, holy crap! Yeah, he's right.
Wow, just like a jam piece. You did a jam piece with Martinek.
That's really cool.
So at that point, and I haven't done anything with Rittenhouse Archives yet. I was already doing this other work and then hoping to get there because that's the way it was. That's kind of the way things played out. Like I didn't get to do anything in that vein just yet. So as far as what happens next, everything's kind of blurred. I just know at one point, Witchblade. Bragent did Witchblade, which is that's kind of my jam, right? Superhero stuff or whatever,
good,
Image Comics. So that's the first like suit cape superhero set I did. It was Witchblade, and I went to town, just totally, loving it, doing that. And I just know at one point when it was released and I shared my cards, Warren saw it online and was like, he just, he was very complimentary, and I was honored because the guy who was basically the guy who was the gatekeeper in a good way, right? When I'm talking about it in a negative way, right?
Yeah.
Right. He's literally an appointed gatekeeper, so he's allowed. Or you know what? From here on out, why don't we just? I'm just gonna call him the Godfather. How's that?
I was going to say, let's just call him the Godfather. Yeah.
So Godfather. So Godfather Martinic. He commented, "Oh, this is a great angle." And I remember the shot I did. I did kind of like an upshot of Sarah. What's her name? Yeah, Sarah. Like in the church, and he was like, "Oh, great angle." I something to the extent of, I wish more people tried harder angles like this. So I found it an honor. And at that point, I just know I was in the mix of doing all that stuff that I was so busy with the other cars, I didn't even get back to Rittenhouse to do cards for them or to submit formally. So what ends up happening is, I think at this point we'd have to fast forward to trying to think. I think 2014, right? That show in Philly, the non-Philly sports card show.
Oh yeah.
Which is I think it at the time was one of the biggest non-sports card shows in the East Coast. I mean, they might have done something in New York or more commercial shows, but I think for non-sports cards, that must be the biggest show. Only because the talent there, and if you know sketch cards and the people that go to that show, it's like a lot of heavy hitters, and I'm not even close to even considering myself, as a heavy hitter or anything like that, but the people that go there were people that I already was aware of. So I was invited to the 60th Philly show, right? The 60th show. So I was excited about that, and I saw the lineup, and I saw that Rhea goes every year, right? It's Rhea, Tony Perna, and Annie Lane Perna, Sean Pence.
Oh yeah.
Warren, and usually they shift around, a few other artists, but those are basically the staple. I think they're all in the Pennsylvania area, so it's kind of although I think some of them are in Pittsburgh, so it's like one heck of a trip for them. But anyway, so that was the show they were going to. So how do I? So where am I going with this? Oh, so that's probably at that show is where I got to actually meet Warren, and by that point I was already doing cards, and he knew I was already doing cards. So it was more like, okay, so when are you gonna submit or what? or exactly how it worked out, I forgot how. And I was like, yeah. And I put the formal samples. He was like, no problem. And probably by the time I was at that show, I was already in the works for getting some cards.
Cool.
What? That's awesome, man. That's so sick.
But I got to the point that when we went to that show, I was taking all the card sets that were thrown at me. So at that point, I as far as Bragent, I was doing everything for Bragent, for for Viceroy cards, and for Colt stuff. So I was just doing everything. I really just just going to town on any set that would come my way. And at the show, Warren did give me a word of advice. He was like, George, you can't say no to stuff. And I was like, yeah, you're right, because he must have noticed that I was just doing everything, and I was getting to a point where I was a little overwhelmed, but I just wasn't saying no. I was more than happy to I did want to make my presence known, or at least have my art really be part of the sketch card world or the community.
Yeah.
So I figured go hard and go heavy, and about that time, so we met in person, and it was a little bit after that when I signed up and I did an actual set for Rittenhouse Archives. So that would be how I got to Rittenhouse. Upper Deck, I can get into that in a second. But I guess
I love this. I mean, starting with Space and Guns, I know you can do Surfer and Punisher, so I know you're solid there. All that experience working with those heroes. But I mean, you've been around. I knew about you very shortly after getting into the hobby. I think I followed you pretty quickly when I was doing on Instagram, like when I was showing people's APs and stuff like that. I think I found out about you pretty quickly. Plus Vega is such a good name for this, man. That's just such a killer name for that. Such a memorable name. And your art is as well. But that's amazing that you went through that. It's so funny to interview Warren and then all of a sudden have you on here and just see that direct kind of disciple and the Godfather speaking and you becoming an amazing artist in your own right, of course, and just how that's all kind of come to fruition. Very cool.
That is cool. And what was that first set, Rittenhouse set?
I'm thinking. I might have to do a computer search. It was
so many sets. Oh, I've got so many sets. I can't remember them all.
Oh,
what a beast!
Oh man, I hope I'm not coming off.
No, not at all. I'm just taking the piss.
Awesome.
Don't worry.
I have to, because in my mind I'm remembering, and it was. Let's see. I think it was maybe Women of Marvel, or because
Women
I know
of Marvel 2, maybe,
or maybe Divas 2, or something Divas 2, maybe.
Dangerous Divas.
Maybe Dangerous Divas, yes. Maybe
You did actually, when you first sent us your email back in the day. I think you told me. Hang on a minute. What we got here? Oh, you know what? You didn't tell me at all.
Yeah, I may have talked about more current stuff, but
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Dangerous Divas, because I know I did a Gamora that came up a lot online where people shared a lot, and there was a Gamora I did with like a truck in the back, like some sort of van of some sort of. I created the background. I'm weird like that. I like drawing. I actually enjoy drawing backgrounds and creating the settings the characters are in.
Oh yeah.
So I know I ended up drawing some sort of sci-fi truck in the background or something. But I think it was like Dangerous Divas 2, or maybe it was one of those Dangerous Diva sets. Was one of my first Rittenhouse Archives card sets, and so I actually took a long way about to get to the capes. Which it is. I do have a commentary about what's going on now in sketch cards and the industry, but I guess I could get into that a little.
We'll get to it. Don't you worry. We'll get there.
a little bit late, but I definitely worked my way into it. It was not where I just got to draw what I wanted to. I had, in a way, I earned it, and I guess should I get into how I started doing work for Upper Deck, or
yeah, go on. I mean, I find it fascinating, the difference.
I love hearing this. Yeah.
How different card companies approach it, and I imagine a lot of that's down to what the license is, if any, because some of them are self kind of publish things without an IP, or a lot of it, and I kind of learnt this from Ingrid Hardy's book. There's the Gamora. Right, he's holding it up.
I was trying to find it.
We'll pop
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah, you guys were right though. Dangerous Diva Series 2. You got when you guys said it.
Ian's the mastermind.
The Ingrid Hardy, who we're hopefully going to talk to again soon, although she doesn't know it, but I'm going to reach out to her. Her Art of Sketch Cards Volume 1, because she's about to do Volume 2. And she talks a lot about the art directors, and of course that can be the entire experience for a lot of people. I mean, you had Warren, he was the kind of the gatekeeper, the godfather, but I guess in some ways also had that kind of art director hat on. for Rittenhouse and doing that. So I imagine that experience can be very different depending on who your conduit is. The different companies, so which I find fascinating, and I know that who wears that hat's changed over the years with companies like Upper Deck. So how did you make that segue? Because obviously Rittenhouse did the Marvel license did depart from them and then arrive at Upper Deck. Was that around the time that happened?
Yes. I'm trying to. Yes, as a matter of fact, quick side note on on my development as an artist. Warren was key for me to want to start inking my cards, and almost at the same time, I had just met Mark Morales. Mark Morales is a legendary inker, Marvel Comics, stuff like that, and we talked. And I know he was doing an upper. This is years later. Actually, not years later. He did do some cards, but when I met Mark Morales, I showed him my artwork, and he said almost the same thing. Hey, you know what? If you were to start inking, and Mark Morales said, listen, if you start inking, your work's gonna your work is gonna jump. There's gonna be a jump in your work if you start inking. At that point, I'm like, I have two guys that are well known. I literally have the inker of inkers telling me that I should that it's going to improve my work. And he was very complimentary to my work. He was complimentary and said, listen, all you need is this, and it's going to add a lot more polish to your work. And that's what I wanted to get to. I just wanted to, I guess, really acknowledge the two people who helped develop that part in my artwork. So, okay, so I'll get back to your question. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My jump to Upper Deck, right? Is this where we're going to go? Was kind of easy, because what ended up happening was that they approached me. Georgie Boy didn't have to do anything.
Well, there you go.
Damn yeah, baby.
I love it. So you didn't have to audition. They came after you. I love it.
Yep, and that could be attributed to Warren, because at that point, with what the work I was already doing, with the pointers already, I remember it was shortly after I did this Green Arrow. Actually, I had done a Green Arrow and a Black Canary on my own stock, and I had shared it online. And I know it was after I shared that Green Arrow, the talent coordinator at Upper Deck had contacted me. Cool. And I know it had to do with that, because it was one of those moments where that Green Arrow was like getting a lot of likes and shares and stuff like that. And I know somehow it had reached him. So, I remember the emails inviting me to the 2014 Marvel Premiere deck.
Oh, nice.
And I remember it was a very nice email. Well, they do send you the invitation. We all get this formal email, but I just remember it saying, hey George, just saw your work. I'd like for you to do some Marvel work for us. I'd like for you to do work on one of our prestigious sets. Right, which I believe is I don't know if he was just.
I mean, it's sketch card Graceland, basically, man. Like Marvel Premiere is definitely.
It's like strip naked and roll around in a field of sketch cards, isn't it? Yeah. It's kind of that.
Or Scrooge McDuck, you just dived into the vault of sketch cards and you just go.
Yeah. So. That was that, and that's how I started with Upper Deck. So that was probably maybe the payoff to having to work so hard at the beginning.
Yeah.
I guess now, if I wanted to, if I'm creating a narrative to my life, as we all do, we create some narrative to our life to make it somehow make sense.
Yeah.
I believe that was probably the payoff, where I really didn't have to do much work to.
Yeah, because you've done it before.
Well, you already put in the work.
You already put in the work. You know what I mean? It was just paying off at that point. But I love that, man. That's fantastic. Wow, Marvel Premiere. What a fun set to dive into too. So how do you feel about going from the standard sketch card to like maybe a 3-panel sketch card or the 5x7, right? Because you would have that in Premiere. What was that kind of jump for you?
It was intimidating at first. I have to say, it was just 100% intimidating. only because I'm like, I don't know, how I should do this, and I had to go online and try to find out or see what other artists did to get some ideas and see what works. As far as the space and doing it, the different let's say the different aspect ratios or however you want to, or the different canvases, I know as an artist, I don't think we should struggle much with that, because the canvas size can change almost on most projects. You never know what you're going to get as far as the canvas, so to speak. Yeah. So as an artist, it should be a matter of optimizing your space. So as far as it being long, some people, I spoke to other artists, they're like, oh, but it's so long, kind of a weird space. I'm like, yeah, it's a weird space, but you get to design it. So in a way, you're in control of the space. Or maybe my biggest advice, or what I tell myself, is take control of the space. Don't get scared by it. But I was intimidated only because I didn't know exactly what I should be doing on these cards. You get a list of who not to draw. You don't get a list of who to draw.
Yeah.
So then I looked around and did some stuff and did some research to see who did what, and I think I ended up doing my own thing where on some of the let's say, I think it was the super long panels. I forget what those were.
I think they're the 4-panel ones, the 3 and 4
panels.
Yeah, 3 and 4. They get pretty long. Yeah.
Where at one point I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do the team on one side, like basically kind of like headshots, and then on the back it'll be their base, like the home.
That's cool. Gotcha. That's a good idea.
I know for one card I did like the Hellfire Club, like the original, like all headshots of the Hellfire Club, and then on the back, I looked up the different Hellfire Clubs, and I saw that in the 90s they were referencing like this building in New York that they would call the Hellfire Club. So I just drew this, building I had found, and then you put their logo or their symbol right on the concrete or
nice.
So that's how I dealt with that problem. And I know one of the other panels I had done Nick Fury. It was just like a long shot of Nick Fury running, and then on the back I did the helicarrier.
Oh, that's cool, man. See, but that's the kind of stuff. And I've seen your work for a while now. You're never not inventive or creative. I always feel like you put that story and that space, and like you were saying about Gamora and the truck in the background, I feel like so much of sketch cards, and I know the pay is miserable and all those kind of horrible things, but I'm always inspired by what artists do to get around that and be still creative and inventive with the space. It's just such a cool idea, man. I love that. I think I've seen that card, actually. It's a beautiful piece.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And you know what? Talking about Godfather Warren again, or Godfather Martin.
Godfather Warren, baby.
Talking about Godfather Warren, he also at that Philly show, we got to talk, and it was super cool. Oh, we didn't even talk about the jam piece yet, but anyway.
Oh yeah.
We were talking, about the process, and he saw my work, and I had a bunch of stuff there. And one thing he told me that I tell people when sketch card artists are coming in, or people that I meet that want to break in, is that, how do you say, whatever work, you put in, the fans recognize. The fans recognize. And when it comes to your APs, it will be, let's say, it will be evident with your pricing.
Gotcha.
100%.
So I have to say, I've been fortunate that in all these years doing sketch cards and doing APs, no one at any point was like, get the heck out of here, or I was insulted anyway. I hear so many stories of people saying, some guy just told me to F off, after I gave my pricing and stuff like that. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I've heard the stories, the rants. There happen to be sketch card artists face groups out there that are just for artists. Just so you guys know.
Oh, that's cool.
Tell of these secret little underground prohibition style spaces on the internet where
Yeah.
Password is
knock and wink,
Wink, wink. Yeah.
and slip
I can see a sketch card artist opening the metal slot of a door, looking out. I was like, all right.
I see Dre's face.
I see Dre's face. I can see Dre's face looking out that little window.
So yeah, and we and I guess in a way it's therapeutic because we share stories and so and tips or this and that, and I think it's really helpful, especially for the younger artists, because there is a big difference between being an artist and trying to break into this business and having business sense.
Yes.
There is a difference as far as business sense, as far as how you're going to treat your clients, what are you going to do, what will you let your clients know up front. So either way, I've been fortunate where the worst I've ever gotten, it was like, oh dude, you're so worth it, but I can't afford it right now. No problem. That's the 100% the most respectful thing to do. Hey, if it's not in your budget, that's cool. I get it. It's and I tell artists it's okay to not be in someone's budget. It's not an insult to you. You're not in their budget. Now, is there? Let's just say, is there? Logically, can you price yourself out of the market? Yeah, you can logically price yourself out of the market, but you're gonna tell me some of the top names out there that someone will question their pricing. No, I mean, like let's talk about some of the giants like again, Godfather Warren.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just did a commission with him, and
I need to do mine.
You need to do yours. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I just did a commission with him, and the card is here.
Oh
my God.
Oh, that's great. See, I know what I want to do with mine. I want to do
that's awesome.
a cover. MCC 1998 is that?
Yeah, isn't that great?
Oh, nice.
Damn, that's like, oh wow.
Old school. I know, because it has Surfer on the back.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so it's Ringo's Surfer outline. So I was like, he said he had one. I was like, I'm not going to pass that up. But it's just a beautiful piece. But like, he told me his price, and I was just like, well, yeah. You know what I mean? That makes sense. And it's not on the higher end. I mean, I think also, not that I can give sketch card advice at all because I'm not an artist in terms of drawing. I'm just amazed by what everybody can do. I think a smart approach is what Fred Ian has done, which is the eBay auctions. You know what I mean? I think that's pretty clever. Like if you're not entirely sure, you know what I mean? Try an AP on an eBay auction and see where your price point is, in the ether. You know what I mean? I mean,
he does his thing
to make a little sense.
He does his thing, draws what he wants to.
Yeah, and then he posted it.
On
if people
eBay.
like it, they don't. If they do, they bid.
It's literally
that makes a little sense.
Put all the gladiators into the arena and just let fate decide.
And let them go. Yeah, it makes sense. I can see that. But yeah, I think the thing is about Marvel card collectors too is that, not to say anything about other card collectors, but I feel like we have a real eye. I think most of us are very discerning and very much really about the art, right? There's other card things for other people, like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon are very much, the game is also an element, right? Star Wars, it's very much an actor look-alike kind of element, right? But when you get to Marvel cards, it's like the essence of the character has to be there. You know what I mean? There has to be that little magical element in there, you know what I mean, that has to like ring true to somebody, and that's harder to nail. You know what I mean?
Now's the time.
Oh yeah, baby.
For me to show my George Vega
gem,
Marvel gems. And you know what nails this? You probably won't see this because my webcam's terrible. Is the expression on her face?
She looks great.
Just brilliant.
I haven't seen that card in a long time, and
5 years. 5 years you haven't seen this card for. That's how long she's been with me.
That's a great looking card.
Hello, darling. How are you? You all right?
Well, yeah. I love that you put the window there for the artist's sketch too, man. That's so awesome.
She's rooftop jumping, and she's got a gem.
And you've got the. I tell you what, you've got boxes on me. For a start, she's got a luxurious mane of hair, which I don't have. So she's got to have. You've got the furry boots, and you've actually got the kind of proper, kind of rippling, whatever you call it, feathery kind ofness going on there. What I love also about these Marvel Gems of it is the fact that, of course, it's got Black Cat on the back as well.
I didn't even realize that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's character stock, which is beautiful. But I really like the Marvel Gems cardstock. It's a little thicker. It's not as thick as Flea Ultra Spider-Man or Masterpieces, but it's thicker than your regular stuff.
Well, the foiling on there too is really nice. It's that those gems and that kind of design on the card. It's Marvel Gems, man, super underrated. It's such a pretty card stack.
Yeah.
You killed that, by the way, Vega. That looks sick, man. Just great. Great piece.
I'm very, 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 very honored to own that in my collection. So thank you for that.
I'm speechless, guys, and you guys have such an eye for this stuff. All I have to say is thank you. Thank you for.
Oh no, thank you, man.
No worries. I have 4.
So glad you came on and hung out with us and telling us, man, we got to have you on again. And this has been so much fun so far, dude. Love this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, and warning, I can talk. And
I love it. Well, it's a podcast, sir.
It's for a podcast. You've got to be able to do that. I've got 4 Marvel Gems cards. I've got Barish Merling. I've got a PJ. I'm not going to try your surname, PJ. Cool. And I've got someone who I've not heard of since, actually, Dioscuro Beniga Jr.
Whoa.
I probably completely murdered that person's name. But that card, that's got some intense going on. We're gonna have a gems off now.
Ooh, that's pretty.
That's pretty. That's good. It's got an intense perspective going on there. I love it.
Yeah, Discardo. After Stegman,
After Stegman 2016. What? Man, I haven't heard. I don't even know that artist.
No, it's not. It's one of these things. It's like I often forget what I have. Cool. It's beautiful.
Well, also, you have to think. There are plenty of artists that come in and they do a few rounds. A few rounds meaning they'll do a few sets and they're out. They're out. Understandably.
Yeah.
Understandably.
Yeah, respectfully.
And respectfully, they're like, yeah, I'm out, or they're just like, yeah, I'm not,
That's fine.
I'm not for this or anything. But
it's very much a step on a journey. It's not, it's never intended to be the final destination, as it were. So,
right.
And I completely get that.
And my thing's always been, my connection with this genre or like the superhero stuff has always been evident from my first comic book collection. So I've always liked this superhero stuff.
Yeah.
The coolest connection I made was to connect with the fans of sketch cards, and my intention all the time was to really have someone, when they open up a pack and they get my card, to just be so happy with it. I always try my best. I can't say I always do my best. I mean, that's, my skills, they are what they are. And my intention has always been to, for that person who opens up that pack and pulls my card, to have the best experience ever. They may not know who I am, and they're like, who's this? But I want them to at least be wowed by the art, impressed by the art, or say, oh wow, this is so cool. I actually, I don't want to be a letdown when someone opens my pulls one of my cards. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And and people see that though, man. Like, I've heard this from other artists that have the same effect as your cards do, is that they don't disappoint, and it's because there's just that effort and the better word is consideration. You know what I mean? Like I my only beef with sketch cards sometimes is that you get a sketch card and it's atomically incorrect and just really, just half there, not fully realized and all this stuff. And the first reaction is, well, they don't get paid much. How much can you expect and stuff like that? I was like, you know what, though? But there's people who get to pay the same amount and they try to push themselves. And you know what? Yeah, it sucks about the corporation, but the only person who's getting hurt there is the fan. And Vega, your stuff has never done that. I always appreciate the storytelling and the anatomy and the focus and the fun. You know what I mean? Like, you look at your Instagram page, it's covered from head to toe in like nostalgia, fun. Like, we all grew up on the same stuff, and it's so cool to see all these the arcade stuff you did. Oh, it's just so much fun and just a good time. You know what I mean?
Alien stuff as well.
Oh God! Yes, I love the alien stuff.
I just took a little dive into the sketch cards of yours that are still on ePack, and there's maybe 30 on here, and it's actually quite interesting because when you scroll down, of course, they're in order of date, so the lower stuff is the older sets, so you really can kind of see your progression through that, which I find fascinating to see. Yes. But it's the work that you've done on obviously the Alien set, and then the Alien movie set, and then the Aliens set as well, which I absolutely love those cards.
Mm-hmm. I was pretty ballsy on those cards. I know I say it or it ballsy meaning I did 2 styles on one card set. I don't know if anyone else has done it or maybe they have. I don't know. I think we do see people mixing it up and just kind of doing
subsets within their sets. Martinek did something similar to that, I think. Yeah.
So I have the line work and I guess as far as almost like the cartoonish the cartoon comic book style, and then I also did a painterly style, and you'll see the ones that were obviously with no line in there. It was just 100% marker, just drawn out and just fully rendered in marker, which is more work.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, the piece I'm looking at now is the Black Diamond Jean Grey on your Instagram.
Let's have a look at that.
And I love, like I was saying earlier about the storytelling aspect.
Yeah, that's one of the new ones. Yeah, that's
one of the new ones, right? I love that it obviously looks like she came out of his head and then is slowly touching the ground, right? Like, that's a classic X-Men image in my head, and that story is just automatically put in there, and I love that about it. Such a cool concept and a great card, and full body, and the heads. I mean, like, that's not easy, man. Full bodies. A lot of people, full bodies, 3/4 bodies. Those are some of the toughest ones I can imagine.
They are tough. They're, especially now I'm noticing that the eye strain. Sometimes like I have to. Well, I don't feel the strain. What happens is that when I'm doing those cards and with that much detail, when I pick my head up and do something else, I'm like, whoa! It takes me like a little bit for my eyes to refocus. Yeah. Not like before, it was a lot faster. Nowadays, it's like I need a little. I'm like, whoa, or like if someone comes into the room, I've got kids, I've got a wife, I've got family here, and if they come into the room to talk, they know that. And I told they know that I don't pick up my head to talk to them because my vision's too blurry, so they'll know I won't turn my head to talk, and me and the wife have had some problems over it. Hey, what? Look at me! I can't look at you. I'm doing a card.
You have no idea.
Yeah, I don't have the card excuse, and yet I sometimes pull that. I've got a Facebook group to run. Leave me alone.
You should see the magnifying glass that Martinek showed us. Remember?
Mm.
It was like a lighthouse lens. It was huge to like get the details.
Oh my goodness! Sorry, I've just seen something on your Instagram feed that's just made me sing with happiness. It's the Alien with Jonesy the cat.
Oh
my goodness, that is wonderful. Just keep scrolling. It's 11 weeks ago. My goodness me, I've been scrolling for a while. I'm only back less than 3 months. George, you put the work in on your social media, my friend.
You're a beast.
Good stuff.
Thank
you.
A real
starts as well.
Well, this is I say for me, and I always like to let people know that I have to put in that work because this is my full-time job. I mean, I'm a full-time illustrator.
Yeah.
So I need to do that, and that would be my advice to other artists out there that, your social media is part of your marketing. Every business needs three things: a product, marketing, and accounting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. and I know people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. And as an artist, I embrace that. So I think about those different aspects all the time. And my marketing is and the easiest way to market is social media.
Yeah.
Paying anything yet, unless you do ads or whatever.
Well, I was going to say, people say it's easy, but the thing with social media is it's the time.
Yeah.
Because there is a time commitment there. So you might not be paying in dollars, but you're paying in time, which, for some people equals dollars, and it's the biggest struggle I have when we're doing the stuff with the podcast and is the time to actually do that, So yeah, hats off to you for doing that. I'm just looking at your. Sorry, I'm just looking.
That's what I'm doing. I just saw his Inspector gadget, and I'm like dying over here.
I'm looking at his barnet. I'm looking at his hair. It's so George, you're a lot hairier than you're a lot hairier than I was expecting you to be because
gorgeous. Look at that mane.
But it's very 80s, and don't take that the wrong way. Cool. That's meant as a compliment. You're rocking it, my friend. It's looking good.
Well, that's and you guys probably know that at this point I published 2 books, GB Pop 80s, Volume 1 and Volume 2, all based on 80s nostalgia, fan art. There are sketchbooks, and they're all my fan art. So
cool. Cool.
So
I did not know this. Is there a link at the top of your Instagram feed that might take me? Oh, there's a link tree. Sorry, this is live on air. Exploring George's Instagram feed.
When he found out about the link tree, I could not get him to shut up about it for like an hour.
Love it.
Oh,
he was so excited.
I love it.
It's very cool.
Well, pop. This will be on the tasting notes, folks, so you can go
so we'll put
click
all
away
this
to your
out
heart's
there,
content. But there is an Etsy shop link there that I know I'm going to hesitate to click on because I need to be able to buy food. But so does George. So go and click on it, folks.
That's a good segue. That's good.
It is pretty good, isn't it? I'm pleased with that.
That's up there. That's on my ranking.
It's up there. But yes, Peter Scanlon described his facial hair as a plague beard. So your plague mane, I'm going to call it, your plague mane is mighty impressive. I only say this because I'm hugely envious that I cannot grow such a fine head of hair myself. Do you? No, I wanted to stay on Aliens for just a little bit because technically speaking, Marvel have got it, even though they've not done cards for it in the Marvel under the Marvel banner. Anyway, you posted something, and I think it was on your Facebook, where you said that you were really into the prequels and anyone who disagreed can fight you.
That's right.
Well, I will be in your corner on that one, sir, because I absolutely love them. I know not a lot of people feel like that, but I thought, you know what? I saw that and I was like, I'm going to talk about the Alien prequels that Ridley did. Yes, and I love them. As a matter of fact, when Prometheus was released, at that time, I know I was, so busy with life and stuff that I had no idea what tie-in it had to the rest of the franchise, unless we all didn't know, but I just know I didn't know. So I went to the movies to watch Prometheus, and I know Ridley Scott was obviously the director. I'm like, oh, it's going to be awesome. I mean, it's sci-fi, and it's, Ridley Scott. It's going to be awesome. So I'm watching this thing. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Oh, I like the concept. And then when I saw the designs, I'm like, oh, wow, that looks so, H.R. Geiger-ish. It looks very close to the Alien designs. Okay, it's Ridley Scott, so he's allowed. I mean, that's his aesthetic, right? So I'm bargaining. Not bargaining.
I'm bargaining. I love it.
I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's supposed to look, in a way, I'm I'm seeing it, but I'm not connecting it to it. It looks like it's in the alien world, but I didn't realize how much of the alien world it was. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, hold on a second. I mean, spoiler alert to a 7-year-old movie.
I think we're good on that.
People get touchy, but and then at the end to see that, I guess it would be he's known as a protomorph. I think that's a proper term for that because he's not morph yet.
I don't remember.
That's the I think So at the end you get to see that version, and then not to mention that. And the thing is, the engine always fascinated me. So when I got to work on the first Alien card set I got to work on the first one they released. I do have to say the first one they released was Alien Anthology. That was the first. I don't know if it was the first, but in modern days, these past 7 to 8 years, I don't think they released any other Alien stuff. The first Alien set they released was Alien Anthology, I believe, and that covered all 4 movies. And I was like, cool. I was invited to do the set. I'm like, heck yeah, because I've always been an Alien franchise fan. Alien and Aliens. Alien, the second Alien movie was my favorite. I mean, we're all at that age that that was us. I mean, that movie was made for us.
100%.
I had a full-size cinema poster of that on my wall for the longest time when I was a teenager, and it was the most dog-eared thing, and it was just held up with blue tack. And but I absolutely loved it. It was just like the aliens. This time it's war with the kind of glowing eye that it had on the design on that.
I mean, also it's genius when you think about it, right? I mean, I was teaching Alien and Aliens in an action movie class, and I was telling her, I was like, you have to understand, the first movie was Alien, second movie is Aliens. A simple S tells you so much about what's at stake and what has been like accumulated and how it's, just mounted into this, you know what I mean? And like the difference between Alien 1 and Alien 2, Alien is a horror movie, plain and simple. Aliens is an action movie. And that is just a crazy difference from to have like a sequel relationship. You know what I mean? I mean, it's the same one for Terminator.
Yeah.
Right?
With an incredible mother-daughter cross-generational thing.
Amazing.
Bookending it, especially with the special edition.
Yes. And Newton, everybody. Sick.
I love it.
Alien's great, man. It's super great stuff, man. So good.
And Covenant. I love Covenant. So the thing for me about the Ridley prequel is that he's not yet made the third one because it is designed to be a free.
Right.
And he's spoken
that's
about
exciting.
David's story continues. So have you seen Covenant?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So I'm looking at you, Norrin, because I know that.
I wasn't sure. I looked at Vega. I was like, I'm pretty sure Vega has this under wraps.
No. I know Vega has. I just didn't know because we've not spoken about them. So, but the thing with Covenant ends, and it's when I started watching Covenant, I had because I'd seen Prometheus at the cinema, and I remember getting out of the cinema and like being a bit like Forrest Whitaker squint. I wasn't quite sure what I'd just seen, and then it came out on Blu-ray, and I saw it again, and and second time I got it. That's often the case with Ridley Scott movies. I often need to see them more than once because there's quite a lot going on with them, especially Hannibal. First time I saw Hannibal, I didn't like it at all. The more times you watch it, the more you see within it and you see how he's constructed it. It's a brilliant film. Anyway, and Covenant, when it came out, I think it was in the first 5 minutes, I realised, okay, this is David's story. And you kind of know, okay, David is the one that propels this evolution, this narrative. Everything else is just kind of the building blocks for what he does and the journey that he goes on. And what I really, really like about both films, so I'm going off on one here, but what I love about both films is all the stuff that is edited out, that they put out as promotional stuff, that is properly filmed as part of the movie, but supports it. So the David video, that you get, the promotional video for the David model, I don't know if you've ever seen that. That's available to watch. There's a scene where Guy Pearce plays the young Peter Wayland giving a TED talk.
Oh,
Have
interesting.
you ever seen that? That was done as part of the first movie.
Yep.
It's on the Blu-ray, and it's amazing because Guy Pearce with just like, I think it's like 7 minutes of just really, really, really good dialogue.
Wow.
It's just like, okay, that's his ambition. It just adds elements to the movie. I don't know why some of this wasn't actually in the movie, because it would have worked so well. But anyway, and there's the same with the second film. It's just,
and the ambition of these films, like it cuts deep, so deep, because even let's even look at it as far as the Wayland Corporation, right? So if you look at the prequels, it's Wayland Corporation, right, or Wayland Corp. But if you look at the future movies, like let's say if you cut to like Aliens or the third Alien movie, it's Wayland Tahani.
Wayland Yutani.
What was that again?
Wayland Yutani. Yutani, yeah. Wayland Yutani.
Yeah, Wayland Yutani. So you actually find out that because of the actions in the first, let's say in Prometheus, it hurt them so much financially, had to merge with Yutani. So like you even get to know about the company,
That's awesome.
Business information, the business world, or how it affects because they did talk about that was $1 trillion. What it was, that was $1 trillion exploration. That's how much it cost the company. So they were hurt pretty much financially and had to merge with Yutani, and that's incredible. And then as far as extra footage that was released, I believe even on YouTube, you can find a video of some guy, it is one of the Wayland Yutani team members on there, and he has a camera and he's going through David's lab in detail.
Okay, I gotta watch all of this. I'm like missing out.
And all this stuff is, again, it's another visual storytelling of the history of this whole entire Aliens franchise. Like visually, there's so much going on and so many clues that it's a lot to absorb. And I hate saying, it goes over most people's heads, because when I say stuff like that, I think people want to punch me in the face, because they think And I get it, because it's kind of like a low-key insult when you say, hey, this isn't for everybody, because the low-key insult is like, you can't handle this.
You don't realize what's happening right now. Your palate's not refined enough.
Yeah.
I love it.
Outrageous.
I'm going to rewatch Prometheus and Covenant, because I've seen both. And, I like them. I wasn't a huge fan. And not all the insight has been there, especially from hearing both of you talk about it. But I'm definitely going to revisit them. I'm glad there's going to be a third one. And I did realize David's story.
No, that's the thing. I think he wants to do a third one, but he's had to park it because commercially they weren't as quite as successful.
Really?
So so he was lined up to do the third one, and I think he probably still will do it eventually. It'll be one of those things whereby he does something for the studio and it makes a ton of money. He's like, okay, we'll give you enough money. And then he does what he wants. But so I think it'll come eventually. I mean, he's no spring chicken, so they better hurry up.
Yep.
But you know what?
How old is Ridley Scott? He's
78, I think. 78.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm getting old.
79.
Yeah.
And he was in his first.
Oh, that's right. It is 79, isn't it?
Yeah. So
wow.
It's
we're getting old, folks. Just so everybody.
We are getting old.
Time is coming.
5 minutes to stand up once we finish this podcast. That's how old I'm getting. So let's just split back to Upper Deck for a minute. So
and maybe for the next time, with the jam piece, the 60th jam piece that we worked on, maybe the next time. I don't know.
Oh, do you mean the one for the Philly Card Show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can tell me about it now if you want to.
No, well, actually, you know what? It's not much of a story to it. It was just a super cool thing that happened. I think it might be interesting to get everyone's recounting of it, because I don't want to sound like I'm the guy who started it, but I'm pretty sure I'm the guy who started it, because we were sitting in a circle formation, because for this Philly non-sports show, right?
Yep.
Non-sports card show.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
at this show, they set you up where like almost all the artists are like in a circle back to back, like in the center of the room, which is pretty cool. And I remember turning around and saying, "Hey, you guys want to do a jam piece?" Because at the time, I like to do jam pieces with artists around me. And this is, I guess, all before the shows got to the level where we're all so busy, nobody has time to jam anymore. But this is right before, things got to this level where you have so many fans at these different shows that, it just isn't going to happen unless you really, really, really try to get a jam piece going. So I remember saying it, and I think, and Tony Perna's so awesome. He was like game. He's like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." And my idea was like, "Hey, let's do a jam piece. Let's do something together." And if I recall, I think Tony was the one that said, "Hey, it's the 60th show. Why don't we do something, being that it's their 60th, let's do something special or whatever." I'm like, "Okay, so sounds good." And I was like, "Well, how do you want to do it? Does one person do a layout?" So I think he was like, "Hey, why don't we just do squares? We cut it up, and then everybody does whatever." So I was like, "No problem. I guess I'll go first." So that's when I started with I did the Michael Keaton, and then I drew in that 60th, which bothers me because I didn't know it was going to have so much. I did it rather quickly because I wanted to get it done quickly to pass it off to the next guy because you only have so much. It is a 2-day show, but you only have so much free time. So everyone gets to have the piece at their table, for X amount of time. That way they can have time to draw it out. So Michael Keaton Batman. That's what I drew. And then Sean Pence. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Sean Pence's work.
Yes.
He does. He does beautiful portraiture. He's like he's my favorite for when it comes to portraits or celebrity, like superhero portraits, because he does something's coming out.
Oh boy, here we go.
Only because he doesn't just copy a photograph, which is, that's why we have copiers for.
Yeah.
he does something, always enhances the color or adds a design aspect. His work is just beautiful. But he doesn't do commissions at shows, or he doesn't do any sketching at shows.
Actually, I'm not sure that this is by him. He says, I've got a Battlestar Galactica like a case topper, but I don't think that's him. Actually, I'm doubting myself now. It is by. Who is it by?
I don't know. I can't. You know what? It's
I'm looking at the sell sheet. It's Chris Henderson. Apologies. It's Chris Henderson. It's not Sean Pence. I know he'd done one of the incentive sketches for the Battlestar Galactica series, but not that one. Ignore me. Carry on talking.
and he So I did that, and then he's like, "Well, I really don't do anything. I really don't do commissions, or I don't draw at shows." So he was like, "You know what? I'll do the bat symbol on his chest." I'm pretty sure that's what he said. I was like, "Okay, no problem. I'll leave the bat symbol open, and you can do that." So I did the Michael Keaton thing. I dashed out that 60th type. I did a quick grady on it. I really do wish I took out the templates and stuff, because I did it all freehand. I should have taken out the templates, and I get angry for not. I don't know why I didn't use my templates, but anyway, or my French curves, as we call them. So I finished that part, and then I handed it off to him, and he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna put Pac-Man in there." I'm like, "Oh, that's better." So
That's
at the Michael Keaton chest, the bat is not a bat symbol in there. It's actual Pac-Man.
Oh my goodness.
So then,
awesome.
So he drew there's actually a Pac-Man in there with SP, that's where he signs his work. So that's in there. And then I forgot in which order it went, but I think Tony got it next after that, and then he did that awesome Wolverine, and then Rhea got it after that, and then of course her Mohawk Storm is one of the best.
Crazy.
Period. So she did her Mohawk Storm, and then I believe Warren went, and then Warren, he did that Spider-Man, and then put the webbing through the text through. He did it so that everything connected together even more.
I'm looking at it now. Yeah.
Of course.
And Joe Simcoe. Joe Simcoe, right? Am I getting that name right? Super cool guy, and he was on the far end, so somebody took it over, and then they dropped it off over at his table, and then he was like, okay, I guess I'm drawing here. So then he and it was a 2-day show, so all this happened between Friday and Saturday. So now we're at Saturday night, and there's always a dinner, which is super cool of them, that they host. So the at the time, well, Beckett owns the show now, but the Tosser family used to own the show, and the Tosser family had a dinner for everyone who wanted to go, and all the artists were invited to the dinner. We were guests of the dinner, which is awesome. I mean,
that's nice.
Talk about the awesomest people, man. And so we got to go to this big dinner, and there was like almost no time left, and Carolyn Edwards was literally the last person to go. She's on there too, and she drew that TARDIS, and at the time she was doing a lot of Doctor Who sketch cards and Doctor Who stuff, and I feel bad for her because she got it like dead last. The show was like shutting down. Everyone's trying to like leave so that they can go to the dinner, and she's there with her pencil. She's like, I'm not gonna be able to ink this, and we're like, fine, don't worry, just do what you can. She's like, and like. So that's the history of that jam piece.
The irony that she was running out of time.
Yeah,
and she was drawing the TARDIS.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Irony. So let's just quickly talk. We touched on it at the beginning, and you said you kind of had some thoughts or feelings about the current kind of situation, in terms of sketch cards and I don't know beyond that what your points were going to be actually. So,
okay.
Tell us.
Okay. Oh yeah. Let's see. What was I thinking? Okay. So my thoughts about, and of course it's going to be slighted towards my own experience, is the fact that I was able to work on several other things before I got to the superhero stuff. So I was able to work on a space card set, which was 100% landscapes and outer space. I also did a bug set for Viceroy cards, which was literally just bugs and insects. So it was like a whole nother study of insects and the textures and leaves, because if you have to draw insects, you have to draw foliage and leaves and all that kind of stuff. Then I worked on the American Civil War, which was completely historical accuracy. You'd have to draw the guns the right way, So I think all of this stuff, in a way, inadvertently built up my techniques and my bag of tricks. So when it was time to do the superhero stuff, it was, I won't say easy, but yeah, it was easy. Because it was something I was already passionate about, but I took all those real world concepts and all those different techniques I was able to pick up and use them on these cards. And I believe that helped me most. And I feel it's unfortunate that, being that now things have changed, and like, let's say, Rittenhouse doesn't even do Marvel cards anymore. Obviously, now it's only Upper Deck. Upper Deck has an open link for people to submit their work, and that's the way it's done now. So, unfortunately, there isn't someone really handpicking the people. No, I won't say handpicking, but someone like Godfather Warren to really sift through who's ready or not. And believe it or not, I feel that, and I think hopefully he would agree, that even when I first submitted, I probably could have done a set. I could have already been doing the work, because I was already illustrated and I already done work. I already did comic books and the other illustration work. But there was something on as far as the market for sketch cards that I had to know better. And using that to reflect on what's going on now with stuff that's very open. So what I'm going to talk about what's open is heavy rejections. There are people, and my heart goes out to them, where they're submitting and they're getting heavy rejections as far as percentages. As far as my personal amount of rejections ever, I think I have to say maybe I've gotten 3 cards rejected ever in a career. When I last did the math, I'm nowhere close to Godfather Warren, but when I last did the math, I've done over 1,000 cards. Mm-hmm. So percentage wise, I'm like at 0.003%, rejection rate. And for people to actually be getting a 30-40% rejection rate, some people to get a full-on rejection rate is tough, man. That's rough, man. And it's hard. And I don't like the fact that it's happening. So the fact that it's happening means is that, and I've been public about this, and I'm trying to give advice, and this is the best advice I can give, is that at this point, since there isn't a filtering process, they're leaving it open for people to be at least good enough to if you submit and you're good enough to get the invitation, you have to look at it, and I mean this in the most respectful way, you have to look at it. It doesn't mean that you're good enough to be on the set yet.
Right.
And I mean that respectfully. So in other words, if you get the invitation and this is the way I'm trying to interpret what's going on now. So when you get that invitation to be on the set, it doesn't guarantee that you actually should be on the set or should even be working, doing this stuff as of yet. What that means is that, this is the way I'm interpreting it, that they want you to do the work and they want to evaluate your work. And if your work is ready, it will go on to the next, it will be used. Or if they look at the work, your full scope of work, and it's not ready, it's gonna get rejected. And the reason why I'm saying this is that I don't think it's been put out there that way, and I could be 100% wrong, but this is my interpretation of what's going on. Because I don't think Upper Deck is in the business of wanting people to submit artwork and do X amount of cards, pay the expense of shipping you the cards, pay the expense of you shipping them back the cards, for them wanting to reject your whole set. I think Upper Deck's got much better things to do than want to reject people. And we know it's, they give it to the licensor. I think that would be the right term.
Yes.
Yeah. For them to, either, reject it or not. So from what I understand this is what seems to be happening. So I just want to put it out there as far as my advice for what's going on. And I think it's a little unfortunate that you don't have, someone like Godfather Warren that can say, hey, listen, work on this, work on that, so it can be it can go through. And then then there's other things as far as low not getting paid too much per card and so on and so forth. My other advice for that would be I've always gone back and I'm always renegotiating my contract. Plain and simple. Just ask for more. The worst thing that could happen is they say no. I mean,
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's just like a job, right? I mean, if you're at your job, you want a raise, or you think, depending on what kind of job you have to go in there and get that raise. Some jobs are, I guess, or some companies are made up so that there's an actual time where you have to sit with your boss and to see when it's time for you to get your raise. But there's a lot of private companies out there that don't have that they just they're not going to tell you, hey, do you want a raise? Or they're not going to ask you if you want a raise. You got to and it's hard to do, especially when depending on your personality type. There are people that they hate confrontation. They cannot confront anyone on anything. So imagine them having to approach their boss or so on and so forth and say, hey, can I have more money?
Norrin.
Yes, my friend.
Can I have a raise, please?
Of course. Do you want nothing to go along with nothing?
Yes.
More hugs and kisses, though.
As long as I get stared at your creamy eyes, then I'm...
Aw, stop it.
then I'm fine. George, have you got any of our MCCW sketch card stock?
No.
In your New Jersey pools?
No.
Oh, you need to hit up Jalen Warner then.
Okay.
Because
Yeah, so we didn't. Jalen went ahead and printed off some sketch cards with our logos on them, and he said he was going to start like handing them out to artists and stuff. So that'd be awesome if you.
So that's now going to be my standard question for anyone who comes on from this point forward, is have you? Because I think you just reach out to Jay, and as long as you've worked on an official Marvel set. And
I want Vega on there, so that needs to happen.
6 Marvel characters, and he will hook you up, and then from there, just get creative.
Have fun, man.
Yeah, you know what? I heard about it. I thought it was something. You know what? I completely misunderstood. I thought it was something in development, but this thing is already out. It's already done.
It is. Yeah. I mean, we were kind of working on it. On them, and then Jalen surprised us by producing some, so we were kind of a little bit like, wow, okay, that was faster, but yeah, so they're out there. He's done a batch of, I think, 1,000 of them, so
that's what he told us. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that's what he does.
That would be fun, man.
He does his weekly draws in the group.
By the way, you should get on there with him and Dre. You guys would have a blast, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll look them up and get on there, and definitely. I mean, I'm totally for it. So. Yeah.
No, get on there. Do it. I was going to ask you something else as well. You mentioned it briefly earlier on. Who or what is Walter Tank?
Oh yeah, Walter Tank is one of the main characters of my comic book. I'm on issue 2. I do have my own comic book. It's called The World of M. I have a website for it, theworldofm.net. You could actually preview half of the first issue on the website, and you can order the comic right on the website. 100%. The story it's a steampunk fantasy adventure story. It's a whole world created, and it's out there for you guys to explore.
I'm eyeballing some of it right now. I remember talking about this actually because we. So I know I did apologise for this, but I'll apologise to this now that we're talking. You sent in your intro for us back in May, June 2020, and we were about to do episode 50. The world had gone crazy. And we completely forgot to use it until February of this year. So it wasn't on until issue 81, which is when we spoke to Donnie Courtrider. Good evening, Donnie. And I remember talking about it then and looking at the links and looking at the characters because it's all coming flooding back now. I love these sticker sets that you get with them as well. Mm-hmm. They look hilarious.
You get a the way I set it up is you actually get a sticker set with your comic book order. So I'm making it so that obviously physical comics are a passion of mine. You know, you could get digital version if you want, but that way you can order a comic and have a set of stickers based on the characters of the comic. Each issue you order gets a different set of stickers. It's on the website.
I love it. Is there seriously a koala bear with a monocle?
Hell yeah.
Oh, I love it.
That's what's up.
I love it. I love it.
I'm going to look at this right now.
I know if I got these stickers, they'd be gone. My daughter would be like, oh, can I have those, Daddy? And she'd be off and she'd have stuck them to the fridge.
I love it.
So yeah, that looks hilarious. Well, that will also be on the tasting notes, and people can go and check that out. I imagine at some point you'll be doing maybe a little self-published little card set to go with maybe
cool.
Yeah actually I thought of a self-published card set. I do have to say, being a sketch card artist, I think has helped me with building nice little add-ons. So when I did the Kickstarter campaign, it was a free sketch card for the first 20 who sign up.
Oh, and cool.
In the first day it was gone. Actually, I did the first 10. So within like a few hours of I have to say, doing the Kickstarter, I had no ambition as far as how I did have an ambition. Incorrect to say. I didn't know how many people would sign up. I really wasn't expecting to have too many people sign up right away or to pledge. So within the first few hours, I got like about a dozen people pledged to the comic, to the Kickstarter. So I had to go back and say, okay, not just the first 10, okay, the first 20, just to think, maybe I'll give me a few more days. And then it was by the next day, I was already over 20 plus pledges. So those 20 people that pledged and got an actual physical comic got a head sketch of any character, any genre, whatever. Except the only exception is no likenesses.
I'm with you.
Only because it's a little more work.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but although some people they were like, hey, listen, I want a likeness. Can I pay for an upgrade? Hey, no problem. Upgrade,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah. Take my money. There you go.
Yeah, and how sketch cards saved me was actually, this was probably very, very public, where the campaign was going, and I was surprised. I think I did like 30%, over 30% within the first week or so, and I was like, oh, this is good. It's tracking well. So that means by the end, but Kickstarters, you always have your, when it starts out, it's like on a big high slope, then you level off, and then towards the end, like probably the last few days, it goes way back up again. So I hit that middle belly where it wasn't moving, like the campaign wasn't really moving much, and it's always bothersome because my efforts are still the same. I'm still sharing it every day. I'm still putting out ways. I'm still marketing the same way. All of a sudden, it's slowing down. So how Sketch Cards saved me was that Mandalorian had just wrapped up the Mandalorian, and I just did like a few Mandalorian cards. Like the whole weekend, I just did like Mandalorian cards, and I used them as add-ons to my Kickstarter. And I think it was like 4 on one weekend. And if you look them up, you can see what I've never wanted to do anything for Topps, only because of the whole entire portrait thing, and I know it would take me forever, especially to do a whole set. You can see what if I did a top card set, what it would look like. And
that's awesome.
And I only did these black and white. So when I did them, they were all gone. Like people were snatching them up on the add-on section, and at that point my Kickstarter just got busier. I guess just because of the people coming on and the activity, and algorithms is the magic word nowadays. So with the algorithm, I guess it created another spike in my campaign, and then by that Monday, it was like that one weekend I got like another 30%, like 30%, funded even more. So I call that one the Star Wars miracle. Also,
well, all I'm going to say is this is the way.
This is the way.
Yeah,
clearly. George, what does it say on that door behind you? Does it say Forge on that door?
Actually, it's a Force.
Oh, Force. I was going to say, I thought it said Forge. For the last hour and whatever we've been talking, I thought it was the George Forge. I thought that might be the name for your room or something like that.
Oh, dude, that you know what? That'd be awesome. The George Forge.
The George Forge. You can have that one for free. You can have that one. Yeah. Well, this is proper perk me up. Listen, we're going to have to wrap up because I need to start thinking about cooking dinner for my family. Noren's probably going to go and walk the dog, and you've probably
I warned you guys that I can talk. I warned you guys.
No. That's absolutely fine. And we and obviously you probably need to go and either be a dad or be an artist or both at the same time, without, of course, looking up at your family at any time. Never look them in the eye.
Don't look them in the eye, Vega.
That's how they get you. Trust me, I know this. George, this has been gorgeous. Thank you for coming on and giving up your Sunday morning.
Thank you, my friend. This has been awesome.
No, thank you. I'm honored. And I can't wait to see what your lineup brings as far as the rest of the year. Your lineup so far has been excellent. I love the fact that collectors are being featured here, that artist. I mean, Bill Sienkiewicz. Bill Sienkiewicz is one of my favorite artists of all time, which completely put me in shock that little George Vega got to talk to you guys.
No, mate, no.
Sir.
Listen,
No,
I'm
you're
still
a
pinching
rock star.
myself from that. I'm still pinching myself from that one. Funny enough, we were just talking before you jumped on, George, that bizarrely enough, I'm friends now on Facebook with Bill Sienkiewicz. And no, it's just one of these. It's bizarre. I have these bizarre moments where he'll post something and I'll comment on it, and then he'll reply, and we end up having like a 2 or 3, 4 comment back and forth about Joe Sinnott. And things like this, and it's like, what's going on? I'm talking to Bill Sienkiewicz, and it's just it's just great, and that's how crazy this 2 years, 100 episodes is, and it just is. So thanks for being part of it, and this is going to be episode 101.
101, baby.
101. So sketch cards.
Robots can read it too.
The binary episode.
The binary episode.
Oh, actually, we might have to do that. The binary episode with George Vega.
Ooh, that's actually real. That sounds good.
Yeah,
that's hot.
Right.
I'm into it.
And all the way through, people will be like 1 hour 40 minutes in, thinking, "Why is it called the binary episode?" And they'll hear it just at the end, just at the very end, before George says,
"Enjoy collecting."
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors podcast. Visuals and tasting notes for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. You can subscribe and leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. Our podcast can be found by Googling at the MCC Pod, which will also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting.